Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of ZeeTalksFPL. Uh, and if any one of you is tuning in to watch this, you must know me through Twitter. That's where I have been, most active all these years talking about FPL. Uh, if you're surprised, how I'm doing this, as you would be aware, I was not very active on Twitter through the course of last season. Didn't really take FPL that seriously, so last season was pretty much a blur, to be honest, as you would know. And yeah, I've missed this game, right? Even though I was away from FPL for the entirety of last season, I did not stop watching my share of football. Love just diving into data every now and then. And yes, FPL variants that I used to do with Anshuman and the team a couple of seasons back, we really had to stop, right? So it didn't quite take off the way we expected. But never say never. I'm not really looking at this as something that I'm like a professional podcast, right? Because there is a lot of good content out there that people are already doing. It's just going to be me pouring my thoughts, what I think of the FPL landscape, and the new season is about to take off, and I always have my thoughts to share. So yeah, I've been dying to do this, to be honest. I love talking FPL. I love talking football. So yeah, let's get started straight away, right? There's not a lot that has not been spoken about in FPL on Twitter in general, in the community, across all platforms. But my thoughts are a little different. So if you know me, you would not be surprised with that. So we'll keep it simple, okay? Let's start with the man who is the most popular pick in the game. But at the same time, he's not in my draft. So of course, the player I'm talking about is Mohamed Salah. Mo Salah, Liverpool legend, FPL legend, destroyed many seasons last time around with his monstrous scores. I know a lot of people who really didn't have Salah for certain games, and it absolutely destroyed their season. So that's the kind of player that he is. But yeah, as things stand, I don't have him in my team. I've discussed it with some of my friends in the FPL community as well, and they've told me that it's not really worth the risk and so on, and that's understandable, right? He comes with a certain set of pedigree, and we all know the noise around. Even in the past, if we take last season for example, right, the noise was that, oh, Salah is playing wide, he's hugging the touchline, and come game week 1, suddenly Salah is on the score sheet and he's getting the assist. So that's been a factor, and I agree with that. But I truly believe that this season is going to be a little different, and we'll get to that, right? I'll explain why I think that way. My madness is always backed by some method, even though it may backfire every now and then. But yeah, let's get on to that point. And as you can see right now, my preferred choice of premiums are, obviously I've got Haaland in there. I've got Cole Palmer as well. I'm very keen on Wirtz and Ekitike from Liverpool, and this was backed up by the Community Shield game that we saw against Crystal Palace as well yesterday. And the man who's central, involved in all the actions is actually Florian Wirtz, and right ahead of him it was Ekiteke, who was taking up more central positions, and also drifting out on the left every now and then. So I noticed that it was actually Ekitike and Cody Gakpo, if you want to call it, who were really switching positions while playing, moving from central to left. So we'll talk about that, but let's talk about the big fish, as we would call a player of Mo Salah stature. I will be heading on to the Sofa Score app. A big shout out to them, right? It's a great app and very, very easy to use. So yeah, so before we really get into some of the data, and there's not much to talk about here because we all saw the Community Shield game, for example, right? So my biggest problem with Mo Salah, for example, is obviously the fact that he's very expensive. Now you will say that okay, he is the highest point scorer in the game. He's getting you pretty much 250, 300 points or whatever, guaranteed, if you want to call it that, for that price. But my bigger problem is the fact that if you look at Liverpool as a unit, as an attacking unit in particular, we'll get to the defensive bit later because I believe they have a lot of defensive problems which were quite evident in the last game as well. I think the partnership at the back, right, Van Dijk and Konate. I think Van Dijk, he was responsible for both their goals yesterday. He gave away the penalty, and yes, obviously I think he was majorly responsible for the second goal as well. I think more than that, it's also to do with the fact that their fullbacks, right, the new fullbacks, if you see, so you're looking at Cherki on the left, who's slightly inverted, but he still had his fair share of chances. My bigger problem is actually Frimpong on the other side, who was just bombing up and down. And I think, given the kind of player he is, in my opinion, he's not really a fullback. You can call him a wing back, you can call him a winger or whatever. I don't really classify someone like Frimpong as a fullback. And I think, given the kind of player that he is, we can just look at a screenshot. The heat map out here, right? This is not a fullback. Even though you'll see some of his touches in the defensive third, but I don't really see him as someone who will elevate Salah to sort of perform better. I think it's in fact the opposite. With a player like Frimpong directly on Salah's wing, I think it makes Mo Salah a worse option. And I tweeted about this yesterday as well. I think it instantly makes him a worse option from an FPL point of view, because in the game, what we call the eye test, if you notice, Frimpong was actually taking up a lot of the positions you normally expect Mo Salah to take. I think that's also tactical. It's an instruction coming from Slot, so that really adds to the problem. My other bigger problem, I know we sort of diverted to Frimpong. My bigger problem is that you look at Liverpool's attacking unit. The two players in the central position that you see out here, you're looking at Ekitike and you're looking at Florian Wirtz. They're new arrivals, right? And in terms of outgoings, Darwin Núñez has sort of left Liverpool. Luis Diaz has joined Bayern, so he's not a part of Liverpool anymore. And we all know about the sad situation around Jota, right? So that's three players that have that were regular in this Liverpool side, alongside Mo Salah and Cody Gakpo, that are not a part of the attacking unit anymore. And I think people are sort of undermining how big of a loss that can be when you only talk about Mo Salah as an FPL option. Yes, I expect Liverpool to score a lot of goals. I think they'll concede a few goals as well, but they'll definitely score. But how involved will Salah be? I think that is a question to me, and when I think of the answer, I'm not that quite convinced. Now, why I'm talking about how these outgoings will affect Mo Salah is that if you look at the kind of players that he would earlier play with, right, they really played into his strengths, right? They would create that sort of space which would allow Salah to come inside and attack the box. You look at Darwin Núñez. Yes, you may not rate him as a very good player as when it comes to being an out and out number 9. He was not that good, but he always had that elite movement, and that allowed players like Salah to do what they did. And the same applied to Diogo Jota as well. Even Luis Diaz, who really was very good at keeping the ball, and that really helps the attacking unit as a whole. I think all of these things, right, the departure of these Liverpool attackers, I think that really harms Mo Salah's potential, especially when you consider him as a player you are spending 14.5 million on. Another very interesting point to me, and this is again, I don't believe a lot of people are talking about, is this man right here. So Szoboszlai, right? He majorly featured as the number 10 for Liverpool last season. Now, how that helped us? I mean, this guy is known for his work rate, right? He would just run around and he would constantly be up and down the pitch, winning balls, and he did let Mo Salah do a lot of things that the Egyptian did, right? He sort of gave Salah the freedom that to just crash the box, come inside in the half spaces, play those through balls, which is one of the reasons why Salah actually had so many assists last season as well. He was a dual threat profile, let's not forget that. So Salah was not really known for his goals, and that's the kind of player he has been. And if you look at his trajectory throughout his Liverpool career, right, Mo Salah, I think the kind of players he's had around him have always been players who've elevated him. So apart from the names that we've just spoken about earlier, it was Firmino, Mane, who really allowed Salah to be the main man, especially Firmino, right? He used to play that false nine role where he would just drop deep, and that space that Liverpool had in the final third, Salah would just exploit that, and he did it with great effect. But I believe now the times have changed. The fact that Szoboszlai will now either not feature or he will play deeper, I think that does not really bode well for Mo Salah. Why? Because the guy who's now playing the number 10 role is actually Florian Wirtz. He's a new shiny toy, and he's a young superstar. I've had doubts around him adapting to the Premier League's physicality and everything, but I think that's a question that comes later, right? I think initially he will feature and he will do well because he has that quality. He can keep his head up, play those passes. The problem is that if Florian Wirtz is playing the number 10 role, he is going to have the most touches in the final third. That's very obvious. He is not Dominik Szoboszlai, right? So he's not going to do the dirty work for Mo Salah. He's going to tell Salah that, listen, if you want the ball, you work hard for it. The coach has given you instruction to stay wide, you stay wide. The central area is mine, and that's where I'm going to run the show. And I'm not really winning those balls for you, right? I mean, and that's not really his strong suit as well. If you look at his defensive numbers at the bottom of our screen, he had a couple of tackles and just one interception, then that's not really his role as well. So I think from what we're seeing so far, it's very clear that with Florian Wirtz, the role is very simple. He will dominate the central areas. He will sort of have a free role, so he will drift a bit down the right at every now and then. He'll float around in the left if he wishes to, but he really has the keys, I would say, and that's the kind of player he has always been. So for Salah, in my opinion, to get FPL points, get us those goals and assists, I think a lot of that will be down to him making those runs, getting in behind the defenders, and that's purely a tactical choice, and that call I think will be taken from Arne Slot. Now, whether or not Slot gives him that freedom is something that we have to wait and see. But from what I have seen, and I believe that unlike friendlies, right, if you take normal friendlies for example, I think you need to take the formation, everything with a pinch of salt, because a lot of times managers just want their players to go ahead and get their fitness levels up, and just be there. But you look at the Community Shield, we've seen it in the past as well. It's a lot of times the kind of the way teams set up is an indication of how they are going to play, at least for the first few games. So if I see that, and with all the things that we've just spoken about Florian Wirtz, I think if he's going to play those through balls, it's going to be this guy on our screen, Hugo Ekitike, who is going to benefit the most. And Slot actually had few good things to say about this boy right here in his post-match conference as well. So I think that bodes well. Yes, Alexander Isak may become a factor if he ends up joining Liverpool, but that hasn't happened yet. As of now, Isak is not. Isak has been told by Newcastle that he's not leaving. I think that may change, to be honest. We don't really know what's going to happen. But yeah, I think for the first 2-3 weeks, and maybe in the long run as well, I think if we have to start the season, I think Yuko Ekitike is someone that the community is massively overlooking. He needs to be in more teams, and if you just take the bias regarding Salah with his reputation and what we saw yesterday, he was hugging the touchline, right? It was only in the last 10 minutes when Ekitike had to sort of come off, when we saw Salah sort of play that striker role. But again, is Arne Slot really going to allow that? Because as things stand, right, if he allows Salah also to make those runs in behind alongside Ekitike and Cody Gakpo, that makes that defense even worse. And I'm sure that's something that will be on Arne Slot's mind as well, because he's spoken about how they are giving away a lot of big chances. So yes, that could also be a criticism. That is obviously a criticism for Virgil van Dijk and Konate and Frimpong and Kirkes. But I think in just talking about the defensive shape, right, I think if Salah is restricted to that right wing role where he's hugging the touchline and he's asked to be the provider, more of a provider for their number 9 that we're seeing on the screen right now, and Florian Wirtz, I don't think that bodes well for Mo Salah. Also, I think if I'm not wrong, he also missed a penalty in one of the friendlies earlier this season. So that's 2 penalties in a row that he is missed. I think he still keeps them, but if he misses another one, I will not be surprised if Florian Wirtz sort of goes to Arne Slot and says that, listen, I want to take the next one. So I think that also becomes an interesting factor. So yeah, I think these are the few things that have constantly been in my mind. Salah sort of playing that wide role. Yes, we can also come up with sensationalism, right? That Salah will have a point to prove now. But yeah, I'm just going by the facts that I can see now. I can understand why people are scared and so confident of Salah, but the more I think of it, right, I think the very obvious move is to not be scared of Mo Salah. I think Florian Wirtz offers a lot of value. I think 8.5 is a good price, at least to start off the season. Yes, there may be a few factors, when we sort of, we are 5 or 6 weeks into it, we'll have a few things like, we'll see that maybe he is not really adapting to the league in terms of physicality, because it's a very demanding league, right? But I think that comes later. I think he should have a strong start to the season, dominate the central areas, and who do you want in FPL? You want attackers who are close to the goal. And if you look at this Liverpool side, I think Ekitike and Florian Wirtz are definitely worthy of my 2 preferred Liverpool picks. I think Frimpong is very attacking as well, but 6 million for a defender, and I don't think their clean sheet chances are looking very good. So I think I'm going to stay clear. There's a lot of other cheaper options, I think, that we can go after. Coming back to my fantasy team, I mean, this is sort of not my final team, but I was just playing around, right, and trying to get a team that is loaded up front. I think I've seen a lot of opinions that the strikers this season are rubbish. I think I disagree on that to a huge extent. I think because of the new DEFCON rules, right, the defensive contribution rules, I think it really gives us a chance to pick those valuable midfielders in our midfield and sort of load up front. I think at least 2 of your strikers should be in that 8 million plus range, according to me. And I think I'm more than happy to start with Ekitike and Haaland. I think he's a strong captaincy candidate as well. Wolves, not a very great side. Haaland, I think he scored a hat-trick against them in the past, has a very good record against them. I'm not entirely sure why people are not very keen on Haaland, because see, the very obvious thing is that if you look at over the season, right? If you go back in the past as well, you look at the top three teams maybe to score goals. I think the two teams that instantly come to your mind are City and Liverpool. So these are the two teams we know they're going to score the most number of goals, and it makes sense to pick the players you think will score the most number of goals in these two teams. So my logic is that in Liverpool, I'm looking at Wirtz and Eki Tiki as the two players who I expect to be the most involved, at least in the first few games. And the same logic I'm applying from a Man City point of view for Erling Haaland as well. You're seeing another Man City player in my team right now. I think he's just a placeholder. I'm pretty certain that I'll instead go for Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest as well. Rangers, I'm not quite sure because Rodri is out, so I'm certain that even though what we saw in the friendly against Palermo, right, I don't expect Rangers to play that advanced role. I think he'll be asked to sort of dictate the tempo, playing deeper. City as a team, they keep a lot of the ball, so I don't fancy any of the City defenders or midfielders to really hit that threshold of 12 CBIT or recoveries in total, right? You're looking at a threshold of 12. So I don't think Rangers will clock that, and I don't think he has that that goal or assist potential, at least until Rodri comes back. So yeah, just a placeholder. I've put it in my team. We look at my final game week team maybe on the deadline day or a day before that. But yeah, that is my thinking. I also wanted to touch upon some other Manchester City attackers as well, and I understand why there is absolutely no talk about these attackers, and especially the Haaland. Obviously, not a lot of creators are keen on him, but even in terms of their midfield, right, not a lot of talk, and I don't blame our community for that, because City have not really played a lot of preseason games, so that's been a factor, because there's not enough evidence to figure out that what the data looks like, and so on. So we will just go and have a look. I'll tell you what my thoughts are about some of these players. So we just check out what the City options look like. I'm just going to put a Man City only filter over here, which I'm struggling to do. So this new layout is a little too complicated. Why am I not able to do it? Let's forget this. We will go to this app. Alright, back to SofaScore. Again, a big shout out to SofaScore. Great app, very user friendly. Going to go back. I mean, I just set up the stream very randomly, impromptu. I'm just doing it on my tab, as you must have already figured out. Just doing a quick screen share, and not really doing it on my system. So sorry about the delay, as people like to call it, technical difficulties. Okay, yeah, I have the Man City players. Obviously we could have spoken about them, but I think having some names on the screen really helps, right, when we talk of these options. So Savinho, as things stand, right, he could be on his way to Spurs, so I think that he sort of becomes a non-option, to be honest. But one of the reasons I'll tell you why I sort of don't or maybe this is one of the things that I have in mind as of now. So see, as things stand, my three forwards are Erling Haaland, and I've got Joao Pedro and Ekitike in the team. I'm fairly certain that I'll start my season with Haaland and Ekitike. One thing that's constantly on my mind is that maybe I don't need Joao Pedro, right? That's constantly a factor that has been going on in my mind. Even I've thought that maybe I can just let go of Ekitike for now, because I expect Florian Wirtz to be a dual threat, right? He can get goals and assists both. And once it's clear that which Liverpool attacker is sort of more suited, and once Slot has figured out his system, I can then make a call that okay, maybe go for a Cody Gakpo or an Ekitike. So one thing that is constantly on my mind is to start with Haaland and maybe someone like a Fulkrug of West Ham, who's slightly cheaper. The reason being, I'm pretty sure that after game week 1, right, we are going to have Foden or Ryan Cherki emerge as a bandwagon. Like, I'm pretty certain. If not by game week 1, at least by game week 2 or 3. Because, and I understand, right, the fact that people are not talking about them is because Man City have not really played a lot of preseason games. So we don't really know who's going to start, who's not going to start. So yes, that becomes a factor, but we'll particularly talk about Cherki out here, okay, and why I believe he is someone that we have to look at. So we'll know what the team will look like when a little bit closer to the deadline. But see, listen, this is Ryan Cherki, right? And now a lot of people will say that, oh, he was playing for League One, it's the French league, and the level is not that high, XYZ. But we've seen him put up these level of performances when he's playing in Europe competitions as well. So it's not that he's just doing it in the French league. This guy's elite, let's be honest. And he can either feature on the right wing, he can either feature just behind Haaland as well. I think wherever he plays, I expect him to elevate Haaland to another level and also be involved. So what I'm expecting is, I'm pretty certain it's a bit risky, so I'm just going to hold on. But I expect Cherki to be a regular feature for Man City. And apart from, I just want to see that once, when they are playing, I don't know whether it's going to be Marmoush or Doku or Phil Foden, whoever play. I don't think Oscar Bob is a legit option. I really don't think he's going to feature regularly. So looking at Omar Marmoush, yes, he's someone that I have my eyes on. Doku may or may not feature, and we're looking at Phil Foden also as an option, right? We've already spoken about Tijani Reinders and why I think as of now I don't really consider, and there's a reason, right? I mean, the people who price these players, right? There's a reason why Reinders is priced at 5.5. I don't think he's going to do bits for 1 million extra. I expect this guy, Ryan Cherki. FB Ref Data, again, a great website. Really love exploring it. A big shout out to FB Ref as well. So yeah, I mean, we look at the data, right? It's something that I've always loved looking at, and it's one of the reasons why I figured out that, completely off topic, right? But Cunha, for example, when he was at Wolverhampton, and I looked at his ball progression data, and I thought that that's exactly the kind of player that Manchester United needs. So I mean, if like me, you are also very much curious about exploring player profiles, I think FBref is the place to go. Back to the topic, Ryan Cherki, of course. You look at these numbers; they are elite numbers. Yes, the assist numbers stand out. The expected assist numbers stand out as well. Very, very much a threat from open play. Regardless of the penalty factor, right? You're looking at the NPXG, that's elite, and he's not going to take penalties anyway at City. It's just going to be Haaland all the time. But what stands out to me is his shot creating actions, right? I mean, 6.8 shot creating actions per 90. That is a dream Pep Guardiola player right there. And this guy, right, Ryan Cherki, I'll just be interested to see how Pep sort of uses him. I see two options here, and Ryan Cherki is crucial to both these options. The first option is that Ryan Cherki himself, turns out to be an FPL option for us, where we are picking him and Haaland, and they're both getting us goals and assists, and I believe that will definitely happen. But the second option is, because he's such a big, shot creating monster, right? And you look at his progressive carries, elite progressive passes. Whenever he gets the ball in the final third, he is always looking to attack, and I expect that to continue at City as well under Pep Guardiola. And Pep loves these kind of players. I know people will throw the example of Jack Grealish and so on at me, but listen, when Pep sees the talent, when he knows that a player is elite, he does not stop them. We've seen that with Kevin De Bruyne over the years, and I expect Ryan Cherki to fit into that mold instantly. How soon that will happen is a question, but I expect that to happen very soon, within the first 1 or 2 weeks. I just want to see that I'm fairly certain that Ryan Cherki will start, but I just want to see who plays, alongside him and Haaland, and whether Ryan Cherki is playing from the right, where maybe an Matthias Nunes or Rico Lewis sort of overlaps, and maybe then Foden or Mamouche play central, or does that make Doku or an option at left wing? So it's just a question of who plays alongside Cherki and Haaland in that front four, as I like to call it, right? The number 10, the striker, and the two wing options. But regardless, I am pretty certain by game week 1 or game week 2, we will have a Manchester City bandwagon. And, keeping that in mind, I want to keep one option in my midfield open to bring in that Manchester City midfielder to pair it up, with Haaland. Because, if Haaland scores a couple of goals in game week 1 and Salah blanks, or maybe he gets a single-digit score, the Haaland bandwagon will kick off, and then suddenly Haaland is not a differential anymore. So if you're really looking to have a strong start to the season, and it also depends on what kind of an FPL manager you are, right? Whether you're looking for a good rank, or you're someone like me, a madman like me, who is always trying to win it. Okay, it's fine if it ends badly and I end up with a 400k or a 500k rank. I'm okay with that, and that's the nature of play that I like. I like a bit of risk taking, and if there is an opportunity, I don't think you should shy away from it. So I look at this Haaland situation as an opportunity. If you go ahead with him in your team instead of Salah, I think there is a lot of potential to just gain that ground right from game week 1. And if he kicks off with 2 goals, you're suddenly ahead of the curve. Add to that, if you keep maybe a slot in your midfield open to get maybe a Ryan Cherki or Mamouche or anyone who becomes an option, right? I think suddenly you'll be flying. So that's constantly been a thought in my head, which is why I'm really looking to maybe downgrade. Firstly, not have Tijani Reinders. That's going to be a non-option for me. So this draft that you're seeing right now, there's going to be a bit of tweaking to this for sure. But yeah, I'm very keen on Haaland. I'm very keen on Florian Wirtz. I'm very keen on Cole Palmer as well. We've not spoken about him a lot, but I think he's going to be central to a lot of things that Chelsea do. Pretty much everything that Chelsea does in the final third, right? Plays in that hole right behind the striker. Has the most freedom. Takes penalties. There's not much to talk about him, and he's had a strong preseason as well. He has a reputation of. He turned up in the Club World Cup finals recently. Did well in Europe in last season as well. So yeah, elite player. I think that price is pretty nice. Unlike Salah, who's 14.5, I think 10.5 is a really really good price. I'm also very keen on Bukayo Saka. One of the things that is constantly going on in my mind is that maybe I can just switch Cole Palmer to Saka in game week 2. Bring in Saka and captain him for that Leeds game, but just a thought right now. I'm constantly trying to see if I can figure out a way to fit them both in. All right, Palmer and Saka. Another player that I really like in my team, and I don't think he'll be leaving my team anytime soon, is Bruno Fernandes. Great player in real life. I know he gets trolled a lot, and people say that he's not aesthetic enough, and it does not pass the eye test. I think that's rubbish. I think he's an elite player, does a lot of hard work. His work rate is excellent, which I think bodes well for his FPL perspective. I think enough content creators have already spoken about it, right? That Bruno Fernandes is very much a favorite to get those defensive contribution points game after game. So you're looking at a player who can get 4 points for absolutely doing nothing. Suddenly he gets an assist. You add 3 bonus to that, and you're looking at a potential 9 to 10 pointer. So I think he's an elite asset, and in some games I do expect him to play a bit further forward as well. So if he's playing a part of the front three, let's say Cunha is getting hooked off, or Sesko is getting hooked off early, I think Bruno is a shoe-in, right? He is always going to play 90 minutes. He's always going to start all the games. He is the leader of that team, so the factor is that he's going to lead by example and put in a lot of shift offensively as well as defensively. So I think that becomes a very, very good pick at that price. Also on penalties, it'll be interesting to see if Mbeumo takes them, but I don't really think it's going to happen. Let's see if Bruno feels charitable on one of the games. I will not be surprised if he lets Mbeumo take one, but as of now I don't think that is going to happen. Also interesting that I spoke about Mbeumo. I think having these price points in the team is very interesting, right? So let's say it turns out that Bruno Fernandes is not really offering any threat going forward, and you feel that he's not really worth 9 million. It's very easy to downgrade him from that 9 million to maybe an 8 million Mbeumo, for example. Similarly, if Florian Wirtz, it turns out, is not able to hack it, right? It's not getting the attacking returns. He's getting hooked off early. It's very easy to downgrade him from 8.5 to maybe a Mamouche at the same price, or again an 8 million Cunha or an Mbeumo, for example. So I think it's really important to have these price points in the team. So that has been my thinking. Joao Pedro, I think very risky to go without him, to be honest, because he's been on fire in pre-season, right? He's banging in the goals left, right and center. Also at a great price at 7.5 million. I'm just wondering if Gyökeres could be an option. 9 million. There is some noise that he could be on penalties. Honestly, I think Saka keeps the penalties, and he'll continue to be the main man for Arsenal. Why? Because Gyökeres will be competing directly with Kai Havertz, and I don't think Havertz is suddenly going to disappear. I expect him to keep knocking on the door, and a lot of cameo appearances. So that's constantly my thinking for both Joao Pedro and Gyökeres, actually, is that they both will maybe have a lot of those 55-60 minute games, especially Joao Pedro, because if you look at his past record, he has been injury prone in the past, and I think that is one of the reasons why the Chelsea manager has featured Liam Delap. He's given him minutes in the Club World Cup and in the friendlies as well, not for the sake of charity, because I believe that is something that is constantly in the manager's back of the mind, that Pedro is a great player, but he is injury prone, right? We've seen it in the past when he was at Brighton as well. So that is my worry, that Joao Pedro may be hooked off early every now and then, so that definitely becomes a factor. And the fact that he's injury prone. So do you really want to book a transfer maybe 3 or 4 weeks down the line, right? That becomes a factor. So a lot of doubts around his expected minutes sort of turn me off. I'll be very honest. So that's one of the reasons why I'm constantly looking to maybe move on to, I don't know, someone like a Mateta, or maybe just downgrade him to a cheaper striker. So I haven't thought about it, and that's not really the point of. My team is not the center of focus of this episode, right? I majorly wanted to talk about Mo Salah and Haaland, and that's my thinking. Haaland absolutely in my team. I think he's going to win the Golden Goal. City, yes, they do have a few issues. I don't know if they're going to win the title, but I think they're going to be right up there in terms of the number of goals scored, and Haaland is going to be, at the very top of that chart. And like I've stated, I think Salah will have a more withdrawn role. The fact that Florian Wirtz is playing number 10 and Salah will not have someone like Szoboszlai, around him in that number 10 role, Salah will have to work harder than ever. And I'm not sure how much freedom he'll get because the kind of player that Florian Wirtz is, right? He likes keeping a lot of the ball, and I don't think, it almost sounds like I'm repeating myself here, but it's not wishful thinking. If you think of it objectively, I don't think it really bodes well for Mo Salah. So that is my thinking. The other players that you see in the team, obviously we've got Murillo in here from Nottingham Forest. I've not given it a lot of thought. I do like Anderson from Fulham. He's got very good defensive contribution numbers from last season. A lot of clearances, right? So I think at that price he's a pretty good pick. Maybe a floor of 3 or 4 points every week, and if he keeps a clean sheet, nothing like it. Tarkowski obviously is someone that I'm looking to bring in. He is another defensive contribution monster. I'm just trying to figure out a way where I can have Tarkowski, Murillo, and Anderson, at least the 3 of these in my team, and we can build from there. But I'm very keen on the structure, very keen on the fact that Haaland has to be in there, Florian Wirtz has to be in there, and Palmer and Fernandes are also options that I like. So these 5 or 6 players, that's going to be my structure. I think we should call it a wrap. I have discussed my thoughts on Haaland and Mo Salah, and like I said, right, I'm just not really looking to make this a very professional podcast sort of a thing. It's just me pouring out my thoughts, what I think about my team, what I think about the season coming ahead, right? And it's going to be an exciting season, goes without doubt. If you have any questions for your FPL team, you can drop it down in the comments below, or you can reach out to me on Twitter. Like, my Twitter handle, it's Syed Siish. And I think if you've come to the stream, you've definitely come through Twitter's. So that's the only platform. X is the only platform where I'm going to post about this. Not expecting a lot of people to tune in, but yes, if you've tuned in, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, any questions, drop it in the comments below. Reach out to me on X / Twitter, obviously. And if you fancy watching a bit more of this going forward, hit that subscribe button and follow me on Twitter, and hopefully I will be back with my final game week 1 team before the deadline or on the deadline day. Until then, it's a goodbye.